Hey guys, today I'll be working on installing this 1993 Cobra brake booster and master cylinder on my 1989 notchback. So if you have a Fox body prior to 91, you'll realize soon that these parts don't necessarily bolt on, and the reason for that is in 91 Mustangs received a revision to the shock towers, providing enough clearance for that bigger booster to fit in place. All right. In the past, what I've done is basically what most people do. So with a large hammer, you go ahead and bang on the shock tower and provide enough clearance to fit the brake booster in. All right. But we're not going to do that today. I'm going to try a different method, and hopefully I won't have to resort to violence to get this booster to fit. All right. Let's get started. Okay, so the first step is going to be to remove everything that's going to get in the way of you pulling out the brake booster. I already went ahead and unbolted the master cylinder and removed the lines. I pulled that out. I undid all the brake hoses. All the hoses that are in the way. So now I'm ready to unbolt the brake booster. So this is a very important step. So I wanted to show you guys what I did. Okay, so when you come inside the car, you can see those are two of the bolts that hold the brake booster in place. There's 4 in total, but I don't think you can see the other ones. Anyway, the important step is you have to find a way to measure where the top of this nut ends, all the way to the top of the bolt. Okay, so the exposed part of the bolt, that's what you need to measure. What I did is I used a Sharpie and I colored that area. However, I'm not sure if that's going to stay when I remove the nut. Maybe that's going to take off the paint. Anyway, I'm going to try to measure that as well, and then I'm going to go ahead and unbolt the booster and show you why I'm doing that. Alright, so I pulled out the brake booster from the car, and I thought, since I have all the parts here, why not lay them out and give you a visual on the upgrade that I'm doing. Main thing, the master cylinder here, you can tell it's thicker, right, than the original Fox body one. So the reason for that is you have disc brakes on the back now, you have calipers, and calipers require a lot more fluid than wheel cylinders, so you need more volume, therefore this is bigger. Okay, the main reason you can't just bolt this on, if you notice, like I mentioned in the other video, it's only got 2 ports, and this one has 3 ports. All right, so we're gonna have to modify the brake lines, and in a future video I'll be taking care of that. I'm gonna show you guys how to save some money so you won't have to buy that expensive adapter that they sell. Anyway, so when you get a bigger master cylinder, you can actually bolt this master cylinder onto the original booster, and the problem with that is the power assist on that becomes almost useless because you need more assist. So like if you try to brake using that booster in this master cylinder, the brake pedal becomes really hard to push in. Okay, so you need a lot more force. Okay, and to solve that, that's why we're going to be using the Cobra one. So let me show you the difference between those two. Okay, keep in mind if you have a GT or a 5.0, this is slightly bigger on the V8 cars. Okay, but it's not much bigger than that. Okay, but the Cobra one, you can tell there, it's pretty obvious, right? That one's small, this thing is massive. So part of the reason why people have such a hard time installing this is just the size. Like, it's hard to fit it between the firewall and the shock tower. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing next. Remember that I asked you guys to mark the distance between the bolt and the nut. Alright, so like the excess bolt. So I'm going to measure the size of the stud that I actually need, and I'm going to trim off the excess on these. Alright, so effectively that's going to reduce the amount of space that I need to squeeze the booster into the firewall. Okay, I'm praying that that'll be enough so that I don't have to bang the shock towers. However, if push comes to shove, I'm gonna end up doing it. All right. while we're on the subject of visuals, I wanted to give you guys a look at what the problem area is. So right there, it's about as close as you can get to installing this part without modifying anything. And you can see there clearly what the problem area is. Okay, so this here is the shock tower, and you see the booster making contact right there. So that's the problem area there. And when you come and look at the other side, you can see that it's really not that much clearancing that you have to do in order to be able to get it to fit. So that's why most people are tempted to just give it a couple of whacks and then push it in. Okay, so I went ahead and measured the studs, and that's pretty much where the nuts are going to end up once they're already installed. As you can see, there's just a little bit of excess stud, and that's what I'm going to be trimming off using the cutoff wheel here. These studs are actually smaller than they are in the original booster, but there's still a little bit left there to trim up. I'm hoping that's going to be enough where I'll be able to install the booster once that has been trimmed off. Let me go ahead and cut off those pieces. Here we go. Alright, so this is pretty much ready to go in. I trimmed off all the studs, and I did accidentally grind off some of the faces on the nut, but I'm not worried about stuff like that. I'm still going to use it. It doesn't really bother me. Anyway, I'm going to wait for this to dry, and then we're going to go ahead and put it in the car. Alright, let's go. So I'm going to add a little bit of lube because that never hurt anything. And I did add a coat of paint on the part itself. I think all of that paint is going to get destroyed right now. But either way, I can touch it up afterwards, you know, once it's already in. Alright. Still making contact in the same area. Technically, I haven't banged the shock tower yet, so this video still applies. Let me get the rubber mallet. Alright, so I want to show you guys how close we got before you see me do what I'm about to do. So you can tell there, hopefully, that stud is almost touching the hole. The two on the left side are actually in already, and then that one on the bottom, hopefully you can see it there. It's kind of far, but that's because this thing's still making contact there. Alright, and you can see it already scraped off some of the paint on the shock tower. So what I'm gonna do, I think, is instead of banging on the shock tower, which I'm on a mission not to do, I'm probably gonna go ahead and extend those holes a little bit to the left, and that'll probably help the booster slide in. So that's the next step, guys. Alright guys, it turns out we didn't need to elongate any of the holes. actually we might have been able to get away without trimming the studs. What's actually keeping the booster from going in is a spacer that goes in between the firewall and the brake pedal assembly. Alright, what I did just now is I went inside the car and I loosened up all the bolts that hold the brake pedal assembly in place. Once that was loose, I pulled it back, so now that's out of the way, and you're gonna see now how easily the booster just slides into place now. Here's the booster. Did you guys see that? Like butter, huh? Well, let me show you. Alright guys, so now you can see it here. I got the brake master cylinder and the booster both installed, and I was able to do it without banging up the shock tower. It is scraped up, but that's for me attempting to install it without first loosening up the brake pedal assembly. Now all that's left to do is for me to go back inside the car and bolt everything back up. However, now I have a spacer to order because I ended up cracking the spacer that I was talking to you about. Alright, and somehow I guess I weakened it, and as I pushed the booster in, it broke. Okay, but like I said, if I had loosened that up and moved it back, it would have been fine. Just do that before. You might be able to do it, like I said, without even trimming the studs. Just loosen that up and it should fit right in, guys. Alright, hopefully you found something useful in this video. I hope it helps someone out. Thank you guys for watching, and please consider subscribing. On the next video, I'm gonna go ahead and deal with the whole brake line situation, and then we should be able to bleed the brakes and get it going again. Alright guys, cheers.